greatest among you must be your servant. Whoever exalts himself will be humbled, but whoever humbles himself will be exalted. The Gospel of the Lord. Well, today I want to share with you a story from the history of the church about a great conversion to the faith. And there are many such conversions where many people came to become Catholic in a short amount of time, but near the top, near the greatest, has to be the story of St. Francis de Sales. He was a young priest when he was assigned to this region that is in modern-day France and Switzerland called the Chablais, and there were 25,000 people, but there were only less than 100 Catholics. The rest of them were part of the religion of John Calvin. And so he went there with his cousin Louis, and within 4 years, there were not 100 Calvinists left among the 25,000. They'd all either returned to the Catholic faith or entered it for the first time. So clearly this was a work of God, work of grace. But there was something else going on here, and that is the method that St. Francis de Sales used. You see, he tried to be very gentle, to be very meek, to be very kind to others. He said that you can attract more flies with a spoonful of honey than many barrels of vinegar. And his friend, who was named St. Vincent de Paul, said about St. Francis de Sales that he had never met a more kind man in his entire life. And so because of his kindness, he was able to win over the hearts of many people, including hardened sinners, to hear his message. And so St. Vincent de Paul summarized the method of St. Francis de Sales, and he said, there are 3 things that are key to opening people's hearts. He said, first, affability; second, love; and third, humility. Affability, love, and humility. And these are the things that open people's hearts. But this is not a surprise to us, because that's exactly what Jesus did. Now, affability, that means like friendliness, graciousness, courtesy, gentleness, meekness, that sort of thing. That's exactly how Jesus was. Of course, there were times when he had to issue sharp rebukes of people, but that was because it was necessary. But most of the time, he was very gentle with them. We can think about the time when there was a woman caught in adultery, and he was so gentle with her, and he told her, go in peace, but do not sin any longer. Or the woman at the well in Samaria, or Judas Iscariot, his apostle who betrayed him, or Peter who did betray him. All these people he was very gentle towards. He put up with the apostles' foolishness and their shortcomings. Of course, he was the greatest model of love we could ever have. He said, I have given you example, and after me, you have to love one another. And he said, there's no greater love than this, to lay down your life for a friend. And then, of course, he showed humility in that he became one of us. God became man, and he lived among us and offered his life for our sake. The greatest act of humility possible. And this contrasts with the Pharisees that we hear about in today's gospel. They were not affable, they were not loving, they were not humble. They were prideful, they were cruel to people, and they were not very gentle. We also see an example of all these things in the life of St. Paul. In our second reading today, St. Paul says, I was among you gentle like a mother nursing her child. And he says this to the Thessalonians. He was very gentle with them, very meek with them. And then he says, we hear that he was loving because he said, I loved you so much that I not only shared with you the gospel of God, but my very life as well. And then finally, he was humble because he didn't share with them his own opinions. He shared with them the Word of God. Today, unfortunately, a lot of times, leaders, even in the church, share their own opinions instead of the Word of God. And St. Paul, finally, he also tells them, remember how we were among you? We toiled night and day in drudgery so that we wouldn't be a burden to you. St. Paul, he was a tent maker. And when he went out on his missionary journeys, he continued to practice making tents. to support himself so that he wouldn't be a burden on others. And so today I just want to encourage us, maybe we take this approach too. The approach of St. Francis de Sales, the approach of St. Paul, and of course the approach of Jesus, that we are affable, that we're loving, that we're humble. And if we can do this, we can open up people's hearts. I'm thinking specifically, of our children or grandchildren, or those to whom we have some sort of authority over, especially when we need to correct them or form them, and how we can do this well with this manner. But also the rest of our families, our friends, our neighbors, our co-workers, the poor, the sick, our enemies, all of these people we can act in this way towards. And if we do that, then they will listen to what we have to say. And we can share with them not only ourselves, but also the gospel of God. And that is such a thing for them to hear. So those three things, once again, affability, love, and humility, the key to opening people's hearts, that you can share with them the good news of Jesus.